Every morning at exactly 6:20 a.m., a 7-year-old boy left a paper bag on a park bench for a dying old man. No cameras. No thanks. Just breakfast. But on the morning the old man didn't show up, 50 black limousines sealed off the entire street. And the men stepping out were not there for the boy's kindness. They were there for his bloodline. And the man who laughed at him yesterday was about to lose everything. Southside Chicago woke up slow in winter. The kind of cold that didn't just bite, it crawled under your skin and stayed there. Street lights flickered against cracked sidewalks. Wind cut through threadbare coats like they were made of paper. Steam rose from manhole covers, ghosts of warmth that vanished before you could feel them. And Malik Turner, 7 years old, walked 3 blocks alone with a brown paper bag pressed tight to his chest. His sneakers were too small. His jacket was his mother's, sleeves rolled up twice and still too long. But his grip on that bag never loosened. Inside, 1 biscuit, still warm, 2 scrambled eggs wrapped in foil, a folded napkin that said, in careful handwriting, *, have a good morning. *, he stopped at Grant Park's east bench, the one facing the frozen lake where the water looked like broken glass under the gray sky. The old man was already there. He always was. Wrapped in a coat too thin for January. Hands trembling even when they weren't moving. His face was lined with years Malik couldn't count, but his eyes were sharp. Clear. Like he saw more than most people wanted him to. "You're early today," the old man said. His voice was soft, like he didn't want to disturb the cold. Malik shrugged, breath clouding in front of him. "Mama had a double shift." The old man nodded slowly, like that meant more than it sounded. Malik didn't sit. He never did. He just handed over the bag and watched as the old man opened it with shaking fingers. Every morning, the same ritual. The old man would unfold the napkin first, read the words his mother wrote, then smile like it was the first time he'd ever seen kindness. "Tell your mama I said thank you." "Yes, sir." Malik watched him eat. Quietly. Respectfully. The way his mother taught him to treat elders, even the ones the world had forgotten. He never asked questions. Never asked for money. Never asked why a man who looked like he had nothing would sit on a frozen bench every single morning, waiting for a child he barely knew. But sometimes, when the old man thought Malik wasn't looking, his eyes filled with tears. Not from the cold. Not from hunger. From something deeper. Something that made his hands shake harder and his breathing stop for just a second too long. Malik didn't understand it yet. But he felt it. The weight of a story that hadn't been told. The old man finished the last bite of biscuit, folded the napkin carefully, and tucked it into his coat pocket. He did that every time. Kept every single one. "You're a good boy, Malik," he said quietly. "Thank you, sir. You remind me of someone." Malik tilted his head. "Who?" The old man's smile faded. His gaze drifted toward the frozen lake, somewhere past the horizon, past the present. "Someone I lost a long time ago." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable. Just heavy. Malik wanted to ask more. But something in the old man's face stopped him. It was the same look his mother had when she thought he was asleep, when she sat at the kitchen table with bills she couldn't pay, tears she wouldn't let him see. Pain that didn't need words. "I should go," Malik said. "School starts soon." The old man nodded. "Be safe out there." Malik turned to leave, but then he heard it. A whisper. So quiet he almost missed it. "Forgive me." He stopped. Looked back. But the old man wasn't looking at him anymore. He was staring at the napkin in his hands, trembling, lips moving in words Malik couldn't hear. Like he was praying. Or confessing. Malik didn't know which. He walked away slowly, glancing back twice. The old man never moved. Just sat there, hunched against the wind, holding a napkin like it was the only thing keeping him alive. And for reasons Malik couldn't explain, his chest felt tight. Like something was wrong. Like time was running out. Why would a man with nothing cry over a child's breakfast? The next morning started the same. Same cold. Same wind. Same paper bag. But this time, something was different. Malik felt it before he saw it. A silver Bentley sat idling at the curb near the park entrance. Sleek. Expensive. Completely out of place on the south side. The engine purred like a predator, and the windows were tinted so black you couldn't see inside. Malik slowed his steps. The old man was already on the bench, but he wasn't alone. A man stood over him. Tall. Sharp suit. Shoes so polished they reflected the gray sky. His face was cold, carved from marble and money. The kind of face that had never known hunger, never known cold, never known what it felt like to be invisible. Preston Whitmore III. Malik had seen his face on billboards downtown. Real estate billionaire. Political donor. Owner of half the skyline. But here, in Grant Park, he looked smaller. Meaner. Preston's voice cut through the morning air like a blade. Is this where you waste your time now? The old man stiffened. His hands gripped the edge of the bench. Preston, don't. Preston held up a hand. I didn't come here for excuses. Malik froze halfway across the grass. He didn't want to interrupt. Didn't want to be seen. But his feet wouldn't move. Preston turned, and his eyes landed on Malik. Cold. Calculating. Dismissive. And who's this? Preston's lip curled. Charity project of the week. Malik's throat tightened. He held the paper bag closer. The old man's voice came out strained. Leave the boy alone. Preston laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was sharp. Mocking. The kind of sound that made you feel small even if you weren't the target. You're embarrassing yourself, Preston said, stepping closer to the old man. Sitting on park benches. Feeding strays. Acting like you're some kind of saint. He's not a stray, the old man said quietly. Then what is he? Preston gestured at Malik like he was a stain on the sidewalk. Some poor kid you're pretending to save? What's next, adoption? Malik's face burned. Not from the cold. From shame he didn't deserve but felt anyway. Preston leaned down, his face inches from the old man's. You're dying. You know that, right? And this is how you spend your last days? Playing pretend with kids who don't even know your name. The old man's jaw tightened. His hands shook harder. At least I'm not spending it counting money I didn't earn. Preston's smile vanished. The air between them turned to ice. Careful, Preston whispered. You're in no position to insult me. And you're in no position to judge him, the old man shot back, nodding toward Malik. Preston straightened. Adjusted his cufflinks. His eyes flickered back to Malik, and this time, there was something darker in them. Something that felt like a threat. Listen to me, kid, Preston said slowly. You think bringing scraps to a dying old man makes you special? It doesn't. You're just another face he'll forget when he's gone. And trust me, he'll be gone soon. Malik's hands tightened around the paper bag. His heart pounded. The old man tried to stand, but his legs buckled. He caught himself on the bench, breathing hard. Don't, the old man rasped. Don't do this to him. Preston ignored him. He stepped toward Malik, towering over him. You know what happens to kids who get too close to money they don't understand. Malik's voice came out barely above a whisper. No, sir. Preston smiled. Cold. Empty. They get crushed. The word hung in the air like poison. Malik felt his stomach twist. Not from fear. From something older. Something buried deep inside him that he didn't have a name for yet. The old man's voice broke through. Get away from him. Preston turned back, eyebrows raised. Or what? You'll remember something? That word, remember, hit like a slap. The old man's face went pale. His eyes went distant. Unfocused. And for just a second, Malik saw it. A flash. A hospital room. White walls. Machines beeping. A woman screaming. A baby crying. Then nothing. Malik gasped. His head throbbed. He stumbled back a step, blinking hard. What was that? Preston noticed. His eyes narrowed. Interesting, he muttered. Then he turned and walked back to the Bentley without another word. The door closed. The engine revved. And just like that, he was gone. Malik stood frozen, paper bag trembling in his hands. The old man sank back onto the bench, face buried in his palms. His shoulders shook. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." Malik didn't know what he was apologizing for. But deep down, in a place he couldn't explain, he felt like he should. Why did that word, remember, make them both see the same thing? If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought you were nothing, you know this feeling. Subscribe now, because what happens next will make you believe in justice again. The days after that changed. Not loudly. Not all at once. But in small, creeping ways that made Malik's skin prickle every time he walked to the park. The old man still came. Still waited on the bench. Still smiled when Malik handed him the paper bag. But now, there were others. Men in long black coats stood at the park edges. Silent. Watching. They didn't come close, but their presence was heavy. Like shadows that had learned to stand still. Security. Malik didn't know who they worked for. But he knew they weren't there for him. One morning, a black car pulled up just as Malik arrived. A man in a white coat stepped out, stethoscope around his neck, leather bag in hand. A doctor. The old man waved him off. Not today. Sir, you need to let me check. Not today. The doctor hesitated, then nodded and left. But Malik heard the whisper as he walked past. 2 weeks. Maybe less. Malik's chest tightened. 2 weeks. That night, he heard his mother coughing in the bathroom. Not the regular kind. The deep, wet kind that rattled in her chest and wouldn't stop. When she finally came out, her eyes were red. She smiled at him, but it didn't reach her face. You okay, baby? Yeah, Mama. She kissed his forehead. Her hand lingered on his cheek, like she was mimicking the shape of it. You're growing up too fast. Malik didn't understand why that made her cry. But he felt the same tightness in his chest that he felt at the park. Time was shrinking. On both sides. The next morning, the old man was waiting. But this time, when Malik handed him the bag, the old man didn't open it right away. He just stared at Malik. Long searching. You ever wonder who you come from? He asked. Malik blinked. What do you mean? Your family. Your blood. You ever wonder where it all started? Malik shrugged. Mama says it don't matter. The old man smiled sadly. She's right. He paused. And wrong. Malik frowned. I don't understand. The old man reached into his coat, slowly, carefully, like he was handling something fragile. His hand hovered over an inside pocket. Then stopped. His fingers trembled. His breathing quickened. Malik leaned forward. You okay? The old man pulled his hand back. Empty. Tomorrow, he whispered. Come earlier. Why? Because there's something you need to know. His voice cracked. And I'm running out of time to tell you. Malik's heart pounded. What is it? The old man looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, Malik saw fear in his eyes. You're not who you think you are. The words sat between them like stones. Malik opened his mouth to ask more, but the old man shook his head. Not here. Not now. He glanced at the men in black coats. Too many eyes. Malik followed his gaze. The security guards were closer now. Watching. One of them had a phone pressed to his ear. Reporting. The old man stood, slowly, painfully. He placed a hand on Malik's shoulder. His grip was weak but deliberate. Whatever happens, he said quietly, you remember this. Kindness isn't weakness. It's proof. Proof of what? The old man smiled. Sad. Tired. Peaceful. That you're exactly who you're supposed to be. Then he turned and walked away, slower than usual, his coat dragging behind him like a cape made of ghosts. Malik stood there, paper bag empty in his hands, heart hammering in his chest. He didn't understand what just happened. But he knew one thing for certain. Everything was about to change. And there was nothing he could do to stop it. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the old man's voice. You're not who you think you are. What did that mean? He got out of bed and walked to the kitchen. His mother was at the table, staring at a stack of medical bills she couldn't pay. She looked up when she heard him. Baby, what's wrong? Malik hesitated. Then asked the question he'd never thought to ask before. "Mama, who's my daddy?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer. She just pulled him into her arms and held him so tight he could barely breathe. And when he looked up, he saw tears streaming down her face. Not from sadness. From fear. What secret was his mother hiding, and why did it terrify her so much? Most people don't see the truth until it's too late. Subscribers do. Don't get left behind, hit that button now. The next morning, Malik came early. The sky was still dark. The street lights buzzed. Frost clung to the grass like broken glass. But the old man wasn't there yet. Malik sat on the bench and waited, paper bag in his lap, breath fogging in the cold. Then he heard the footsteps. Heavy, expensive shoes on concrete. He turned. Preston Whitmore was walking toward him. Alone this time. No Bentley. No bodyguards. Just him. And something about that felt worse. Malik stood up, instinct telling him to run. But his legs wouldn't move. Preston stopped a few feet away. Hands in his pockets. Face unreadable. Relax, kid. I'm not here to hurt you. Malik said nothing. Preston smiled. You don't talk much, do you? No, sir. Smart. Preston glanced at the empty bench. He's not coming, you know. Malik's stomach dropped. What? The old man. He collapsed last night. They took him to the hospital. Preston's smile widened. Guess time finally caught up with him. Malik's hands tightened around the paper bag. Is he okay? Preston shrugged. Define okay. Silence. Malik's chest felt tight. His throat burned. Preston stepped closer. You know what's funny? He spent the last few weeks asking about you. Your name. Your mother. Where you live. Malik's eyes widened. Why? That's what I'd like to know. Preston crouched down. I level with Malik now. So I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Malik swallowed hard. Has he ever told you anything? About his family? About his past? No, sir. You sure? Yes, sir. Preston studied him. Long hard. Like he was trying to see through him. Then he stood up and pulled something from his coat pocket. A photograph. Old. Faded. Creased from years of being folded and unfolded. He held it out. Malik took it with trembling hands. It was a picture of a woman. Young. Beautiful. Smiling. She was holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. Malik stared at her face. Something about her felt familiar. The shape of her eyes. The curve of her smile. His head started to throb. Preston's voice cut through. Do you recognize her? Malik shook his head, but his hands were shaking. Her name was Evelyn Grayson, Preston said quietly. She died 28 years ago. Childbirth complications. Malik looked up. Why are you telling me this? Preston's smile disappeared. Because that baby in her arms. He pointed at the photograph. That baby disappeared the same night she died. Malik's heart pounded. They searched for months. Hired private investigators. Tracked down every hospital, every adoption agency, every lead. Nothing. Preston leaned in closer. Until now. Malik's breath caught. You think I don't think, Preston interrupted. I know. The world tilted. Malik's vision blurred. His head pounded. And suddenly, he wasn't standing in the park anymore. He was somewhere else. A hospital room. White walls. Machines beeping. A woman screaming. Doctors shouting. A baby crying. Then hands. Grabbing. Running. Doors slamming. Sirens. Gone. Malik gasped and stumbled backward. The photograph fell from his hands. Preston caught him by the shoulders. Easy, kid. What was that? Preston's eyes narrowed. You saw something, didn't you? Malik couldn't speak. His whole body was shaking. Preston picked up the photograph and tucked it back into his coat. That's what I thought. He straightened his jacket and turned to leave. But before he did, he looked back one last time. You know what the worst part is? Preston's voice was cold. Calculated. If you really are who I think you are, then everything I've built for the last 20 years is about to disappear. He stepped closer. Leaned down. Whispered. And I'm not going to let that happen. Then he walked away. Malik stood frozen on the grass, heart hammering, head spinning, the world collapsing around him. He didn't understand what was happening. But he knew one thing for certain. Preston Whitmore was scared of him. And scared men were dangerous. That afternoon, Malik's mother got a phone call. She answered. Listened. Then her face went white. She dropped the phone. Malik ran to her. Mama, what's wrong? She grabbed his face with both hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. Baby, she whispered. We have to leave. Right now. Why? Because they found us. Who? She didn't answer. She just pulled him into her arms and held him like the world was ending. And maybe it was. Asterisk, who were they, and what did they want with Malik? Asterisk, if you think you know where this is going, you're wrong. Only subscribers get the full story. Don't be the one left guessing. Subscribe now before the truth comes out. They didn't leave. Malik's mother tried. She packed 2 bags, grabbed his hand, and headed for the door. But when she opened it, 3 men in dark suits stood on the other side. Silent. Professional. Unmovable. Behind them, a black SUV idled at the curb. Ms. Turner, one of them said quietly, we need you and your son to come with us. Her voice shook. We're not going anywhere. The man didn't smile. Didn't threaten. Just stood there with the weight of authority that didn't need to explain itself. It's not a request. Malik's mother pulled him behind her. You can't just, we can, the man interrupted. And we will. But it would be easier for everyone if you cooperated. She looked down at Malik. Her eyes were wet. Her hands trembled. Mama? Malik whispered. She squeezed his hand. Then nodded. Okay. The ride was silent. Malik sat pressed against his mother, watching the city blur past the tinted windows. She didn't let go of his hand. Not once. He didn't know where they were going. Didn't know who these men were. Didn't know why his mother looked like she was being taken to her own funeral. But he knew one thing. This had something to do with the old man. And Preston Whitmore. And that photograph. The SUV pulled into Grant Park. Not the side with the bench. The south entrance, where a line of black limousines stretched as far as Malik could see. 50. Maybe more. Men in suits stood in formation. Police cars blocked both ends of the street. Cameras were already rolling from news vans parked on the perimeter. Malik's stomach dropped. What's happening? He whispered. His mother didn't answer. She just held him tighter. The SUV stopped. The door opened. And the man who stepped forward wasn't wearing a suit. He was older. Gray hair. Sharp eyes. Expensive watch. The kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. A lawyer. He knelt down in front of Malik. His voice was calm. Measured. Malik Turner? Malik nodded. My name is Vincent Caruso. I represent the estate of Elliot Grayson. He paused. Do you know who that is? Malik shook his head. Vincent's eyes softened. The man you've been bringing breakfast to every morning. Malik's breath caught. Is he's alive, Vincent said quickly. But he doesn't have much time. And before he goes, there's something he needs you to know. Malik looked at his mother. She was crying now. Silent tears that wouldn't stop. Vincent stood and turned to her. Miss Turner, I know this is difficult. But we've been searching for your son for 27 years. She shook her head. You can't have him. We're not here to take him, Vincent said gently. We're here to give him what's rightfully his. Malik's head spun. I don't understand. Vincent looked at him. You will. Then, from the center of the formation, Preston Whitmore stepped forward. His face was pale. His hands were clenched. His jaw was tight. He looked at Malik like he was staring at a ghost. This is impossible, Preston said. His voice cracked. He can't be, DNA doesn't lie, Vincent said coldly. We ran it 3 times. Preston's face twisted. You stole his blood? We didn't have to. Vincent gestured to the park bench. He's been leaving it behind for weeks. Napkins. Fingerprints. Traces. Malik felt sick. They'd been watching him. Testing him. Without him even knowing. Preston stepped closer, his voice rising. You can't do this. I've run that company for 20 years. I've built it into what it is today. You can't just hand it over to some kid who doesn't even know. He's not some kid, Vincent interrupted. He's Elliot Grayson's grandson. The words echoed across the park. Malik's knees buckled. His mother caught him. No, she whispered. No, 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 yes, Vincent said. Your mother, Evelyn Grayson, gave birth to a son the night she died. That son was taken. Hidden. Raised under a different name to protect him from the very people who wanted him gone. He looked at Preston. People like you. Preston's face went white. I didn't. You forged documents. Bribed officials. Erased records. Vincent's voice was sharp now. You made the world believe that baby died with his mother. And you spent the next 27 years stealing from the man who trusted you. Silence. The cameras kept rolling. The men in suits stood frozen. And Malik felt the weight of a truth he didn't ask for crushing down on him. Preston took a step back. Then another. His hands shook. You can't prove any of that. Vincent smiled. It wasn't kind. We already have. He pulled out a folder. Thick. Heavy. Documentation that would bury Preston alive. Fraud. Embezzlement. Identity theft. Conspiracy. Vincent handed it to one of the agents. Federal charges. All of them. Preston's legs gave out. He fell to his knees on the cold grass. The same grass where he'd laughed at Malik days before. The same grass where he'd called him nothing. Malik stared at him. No anger. No satisfaction. Just sadness. Because he understood now. Preston hadn't just stolen money. He'd stolen a family. Vincent placed a hand on Malik's shoulder. There's someone who wants to see you. Malik looked up. The old man? Vincent nodded. His name is Elliot Grayson. And he's your grandfather. Asterisk, what would Elliot say in his final moments, and could Malik forgive the man who let him grow up in poverty? Asterisk, 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 you've come this far. Don't walk away now. Subscribe and see how this ends, because the best part is still coming. The hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. Machines hummed. Monitors beeped softly. The smell of disinfectant hung in the air like a memory of all the people who'd said goodbye in rooms just like this one. Elliot Grayson lay in the bed, propped up by pillows, oxygen tubes in his nose. His skin was pale. His breathing shallow. But his eyes were open. And when Malik walked in, those eyes filled with tears. There you are, Elliot whispered. Malik stood frozen in the doorway. His mother was behind him, one hand on his shoulder. Vincent stood to the side, silent, giving them space. Malik didn't know what to say. Didn't know what to feel. This man, this dying stranger, was supposed to be his grandfather. But he'd never known him. Not really. Elliot lifted one trembling hand. Come closer. Please. Malik hesitated. Then stepped forward. One step. Then another. Until he was standing at the edge of the bed. Elliot's hand reached out. Malik took it. The old man's grip was weak. But it was warm. I'm sorry, Elliot said. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. Malik swallowed hard. For what? For everything. Tears spilled down Elliot's cheeks. For not finding you sooner. For letting you grow up the way you did. For all the years I should have been there. Malik's throat tightened. You didn't know where I was. I should have tried harder. Elliot closed his eyes. When your grandmother died, and they told me the baby was gone. I believed them. I trusted the wrong people. And I've been paying for it every day since. Malik looked at Vincent. Why didn't you search for him? Vincent's face was somber. He did. For 5 years, Elliot searched. Private investigators. Lawyers. He spent millions. But Preston had covered the trail too well. Eventually, Elliot's health declined. He stopped searching. Until 6 months ago. What happened 6 months ago? Malik's mother asked quietly. Vincent pulled out a photograph from his briefcase. The same one Preston had shown Malik. This was found in an old storage unit. A nurse who worked the night Evelyn died kept it. She wrote a note on the back. He flipped it over. Handwritten words in faded ink. Asterisk baby didn't die. Someone took him. I heard them. I couldn't stop them. God forgive me that asterisk. Elliot opened his eyes. That's when I knew. My grandson was alive. Somewhere. And you started looking again, Malik said softly. Elliot nodded. I hired new investigators. We traced hospital records. Birth certificates. Adoption files. Everything led to dead ends. Until, he paused, struggling to breathe. Until I found myself on that bench. Malik frowned. What do you mean? Elliot smiled through his tears. I was giving up. Again. I went to the park because it was the last place I'd been happy. Before everything fell apart. I sat on that bench every morning, just waiting to die. His voice broke. And then you showed up. Malik's eyes burned. He didn't want to cry. But he couldn't stop it. I didn't know, Malik whispered. You couldn't have. Elliot squeezed his hand. But you did something I'll never forget. You treated me like I mattered. Like I was worth your time. Your kindness. He reached into the blanket beside him and pulled out a small cloth bag. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were napkins. Dozens of them. Every single one Malik's mother had written on. Asterisk have a good morning. That asterisk. Elliot's voice was barely a whisper. These kept me alive. Not the food. Not the warmth. These words. Malik's tears fell freely now. Elliot pulled out one more thing. A ring. Gold. Engraved with a family crest Malik didn't recognize. This belonged to your grandmother, Elliot said. She wore it every day. And now, it's yours. He pressed it into Malik's palm. Malik stared at it. Heavy. Warm. Real. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Elliot said. You already said everything that mattered. Every morning. Every breakfast. Every kindness. He looked past Malik to his mother. And you. His voice softened. Thank you. For raising him right. For teaching him to care. For keeping him safe when I couldn't. Malik's mother stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know who he was. I swear, I didn't. I know, Elliot said gently. And it doesn't matter. You did what a mother should do. You loved him. She nodded, unable to speak. Elliot looked back at Malik. There's something else you need to know. Vincent stepped forward again. He opened another folder. Elliot Grayson is the founder of Grayson Holdings. One of the largest private equity firms in the country. Valued at over $18 billion. Malik's head spun. 18 billion. Vincent continued. Preston Whitmore was appointed CEO when Elliot's health declined. But he was never the legal heir. He falsified documents to make it appear that way. Why? Malik asked. Because he knew, Vincent said quietly. He knew that if Evelyn's son survived, Preston would inherit nothing. The company, the wealth, the power, all of it would go to the legitimate bloodline. Malik's voice was barely a whisper. So he made me disappear. He paid a nurse to take you out of the hospital that night, Vincent continued. Paid off the doctors to declare you dead. Falsified the death certificate. Then he had you placed with a family far away from Chicago, with instructions to never contact the Graysons. Malik's mother stepped forward, her voice shaking. But I adopted him through legal channels. The agency said his parents abandoned him. The agency was paid off too, Vincent said. Preston made sure every paper trail led to dead ends. He spent millions covering his tracks. And it worked. For 27 years, it worked. Elliot's breathing grew more labored. His eyes fluttered. But I didn't die, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Not yet. I stayed alive long enough. He looked at Malik one last time, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. You saved me. Not from death, I was always going to die. His hand tightened weakly around Malik's. You saved me from dying without knowing the truth. From dying believing my family line ended in greed and lies. His voice cracked. You didn't save me, son. You saved the truth. Malik felt tears burning down his own cheeks. I didn't know. I just wanted to help. I know. Elliot smiled through his pain. That's exactly why it mattered. You saw a stranger. And you treated him like family. Before you even knew we were. He reached up with his other hand, trembling, and touched Malik's face. You're exactly who your grandmother would have wanted you to be. Kind. Pure. Unbroken by the world. His hand fell back to the bed. The monitor's beeping began to slow. Elliot's eyes closed. Grandpa? Malik's voice broke. Elliot's lips moved. One final whisper. Have a good morning, Malik. And then the monitor flatlined. The steady beep became one long, endless tone. Vincent bowed his head. Malik's mother gasped, pulling Malik close, but he didn't look away. He held his grandfather's hand until it went cold. Until the warmth faded completely. And in that moment, Malik understood something he'd never understood before. Love didn't need time to be real. It just needed truth. He leaned forward and whispered into the silence. Have a good morning, Grandpa. What would happen to Preston now, and could a 7-year-old boy handle the weight of an empire built on lies? You've watched this boy lose everything and gain everything in the same breath. Don't turn away now, subscribe and witness what justice really looks like. The cameras caught everything. Preston Whitmore III, on his knees in Grant Park, surrounded by federal agents. The billionaire who'd built an empire on stolen ground, now being read his rights in front of the world. Preston Whitmore, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, fraud, embezzlement, falsification of government records, and identity theft spanning 27 years. The handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Cold metal against skin that had never known consequence. Preston didn't fight. Didn't scream. Didn't beg. He just stared at the ground, shoulders slumped, face drained of all color. All the arrogance. All the power. All the cruelty that had poured from his mouth just days before. Gone. Erased by the weight of truth. The news crews broadcast it live. Within minutes, headlines exploded across every platform in the country. Billionaire arrested in decades-old conspiracy stolen heir found alive after 27 years poor boy feeding homeless man was secret grandson of dying tycoon kindness exposes billion-dollar fraud Malik watched from the hospital window as the convoy of black vehicles left the park. His mother stood beside him, one arm wrapped protectively around his shoulders. He should have felt something. Satisfaction. Vindication. Relief. But all he felt was tired. Vincent approached quietly, his footsteps soft on the hospital floor. The board of directors held an emergency meeting an hour ago. Preston's voting rights have been revoked. His assets are frozen. Every account, every property, every investment, all under federal investigation. Malik didn't respond. He just kept staring out the window at the empty park below. Malik! Vincent's voice was gentle. Do you understand what this means for you? Malik turned slowly. His eyes were red-rimmed but dry now. It means I'm rich. Vincent nodded carefully. Yes. But more than that, it means I'm alone. Malik's voice was flat. Empty. My grandfather's dead. My grandmother died before I was born. And the man who was supposed to protect me tried to erase me instead. The words hung in the air like stones. Vincent's expression softened. He knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with the boy. You're not alone. You have your mother. And you have an entire company, thousands of employees, who've been waiting 27 years for the rightful heir to return. They don't know me, Malik said quietly. Then you'll teach them who you are. Vincent paused. Your grandfather believed you would. That's why he fought so hard to find you. Malik looked down at the ring still clutched in his palm. His grandmother's ring. The metal was warm from being held so tightly. What happens now? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Vincent stood. Now, you get to choose. You're 7 years old. The law requires you to have a legal guardian until you turn 18. Your mother will retain full custody and parental rights. The estate will be managed by a trust, one your grandfather established years ago, until you come of age. And Preston? He'll face trial within 6 months. If convicted on all charges, and the evidence is overwhelming, he'll spend the rest of his life in federal prison. No parole. No early release. Malik nodded slowly, processing. Good. Vincent pulled out one final envelope from his briefcase. There's one more thing. Your grandfather wrote you a letter. Last week, when he knew time was running out. He asked me to give it to you after he was gone. He handed Malik a sealed envelope, cream-colored and heavy. Malik stared at it. His name was written on the front in shaky handwriting that slanted to the right. Asterisk to my grandson, Malik. Asterisk. His hands trembled as he carefully tore open the seal. Inside, the letter was short. Just a few handwritten lines on expensive stationery. Asterisk Malik. Asterisk. Asterisk. If you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer. Asterisk. Asterisk. But I need you to know something important. Asterisk. Asterisk. You didn't find me by accident. And I didn't find you by searching. Asterisk. Asterisk. We found each other because kindness has a way of bringing truth to the surface. It always does. Eventually. Asterisk. Asterisk. You gave me breakfast every morning. But what you really gave me was hope. Asterisk. Asterisk. Hope that the world still had good people in it. Hope that my family line wouldn't end in greed and lies. Hope that maybe, just maybe, love could outlast money. Asterisk. Asterisk. You proved it could. Asterisk. Asterisk. Don't let what you inherit change who you are. Stay kind. Stay humble. Stay exactly the boy your mother raised you to be. Asterisk. Asterisk. The world will try to make you hard. It will tell you that money equals power, that cruelty equals strength. Asterisk. Asterisk. Don't listen. Asterisk. Asterisk. The most powerful thing you can do is exactly what you've already done. Asterisk. Asterisk. Care when no one's watching. Asterisk. Asterisk. With all my love. Asterisk. Asterisk. Grandpa Elliot. Asterisk. Malik read it 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and tucked it into his jacket pocket, right next to his heart. He looked up at his mother, eyes glistening. Can we go home? She nodded, tears streaming freely down her face. Yeah, baby. We can go home. As they walked toward the hospital exit, reporters swarmed the entrance. Cameras flashed like lightning. Questions shouted from every direction, overlapping into chaos. Malik, how does it feel to be a billionaire? Are you angry at Preston Whitmore? What are you going to do with the money? Do you blame your grandfather for not finding you sooner? But Malik didn't stop. He didn't answer. He just held his mother's hand tightly and kept walking forward, head down, one step at a time. Because he already knew something they didn't. Something his grandfather had spent his last breath teaching him. Money didn't make you powerful. Kindness did. Asterisk. Asterisk. If this story reminded you that the smallest act can change everything, stay with us. The final chapter will show you why. Subscribe now. 3 months later. Grant Park looked the same. Same benches weathered by time and seasons. Same frozen lake stretching toward the horizon. Same biting wind that made your eyes water and your fingers numb. But the east bench, the one facing the water where everything had begun, was different now. A bronze plaque had been installed at its center. Polished until it gleamed. Permanent. Unremovable. It read, Asterisk. Asterisk. Kindness lives here. Asterisk. 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 In memory of Elliot Grayson, 1943 to 2025. Asterisk. Asterisk. Who found family in a stranger's generosity. Asterisk. Asterisk. And proved that love needs no invitation. Asterisk. Malik stood in front of it, paper bag clutched in both hands. He still came every morning. Same time. Same route. Same ritual. But now, he brought breakfast for someone else. An older woman sat on the bench, wrapped in a coat 2 sizes too big and still not warm enough. Her hair was gray and tangled. Her hands shook, not from cold, but from something deeper. She looked up when Malik approached, eyes wary. "Morning," Malik said softly. She nodded but didn't speak. Malik held out the paper bag. "Breakfast. If you want it." She stared at him for a long moment, searching his face for the catch. For the cruelty. For the joke. But she found none. Slowly, she reached out and took the bag. "Thank you," she whispered, voice cracking. Malik smiled. "Have a good morning." She opened the bag carefully, like it might disappear if she moved too fast. Inside, 1 biscuit, 2 scrambled eggs wrapped in foil, and a folded napkin. She unfolded it and read the words written in neat handwriting. "You matter. Never forget that." Tears filled her eyes immediately. Malik didn't ask why she was crying. He didn't need to. He just sat down beside her on the cold bench and watched the lake, the way he used to with his grandfather, giving her space to feel whatever she needed to feel. His mother stood a few feet away near the park entrance, watching with quiet pride. Life had changed in ways Malik still couldn't fully wrap his mind around. They'd moved out of the Southside apartment. Not because they had to, but because his mother wanted him to have choices. Opportunities. Safety. But Malik had made her promise one thing: they'd stay close to the park. Close enough that he could still walk there every morning. Close enough that he'd never forget where he came from. Or who he'd been before the world knew his name. The Grayson estate was being restructured from the ground up. New leadership. New ethics policies. New transparency standards. Malik wouldn't control any of it until he turned 18. But he'd already made one decision that Vincent and the board had approved unanimously. 10% of Grayson Holdings' annual profits, hundreds of millions of dollars, would be redirected into a foundation. Its sole purpose: feeding families on the South Side and in communities just like it across the country. No press releases. No photo opportunities. No buildings with his name on them. Just food. Just help. Just kindness. Because Malik remembered what hunger felt like. And he remembered what it felt like when someone, anyone, cared enough to do something about it. Preston Whitmore was serving a 30-year sentence in a federal prison 3 states away. No parole eligibility. No appeals granted. No early release for good behavior. He tried to fight it. Hired the best lawyers money could buy. Claimed he was protecting the company, that he'd been manipulated, that he was the real victim. But the jury hadn't believed him. And neither had the judge. Malik didn't visit Preston. Didn't write letters. Didn't think about him much anymore. Not out of cruelty, but because holding on to anger felt like carrying stones he didn't need. His grandfather had taught him that. In the last breakfast they'd shared together. The woman on the bench finished eating and carefully folded the napkin, smoothing out every crease with trembling fingers. "Can I keep this?" she asked quietly. Malik nodded. "Of course." She tucked it into her coat pocket, close to her heart. Then she looked at him, really looked at him, and smiled for the first time. "You remind me of someone," she said. Malik tilted his head. "Who?" Her eyes glistened. "Someone who cared when no one else did." She stood slowly, joints stiff from the cold, and touched his shoulder gently. "Thank you," she whispered again. Then she walked away, disappearing into the morning crowd. Malik watched her go. Then he turned back to the bronze plaque and traced the engraved letters with one finger. "Kindness lives here." His mother walked over and sat beside him on the bench. "You ready to go, baby?" Malik looked out at the frozen lake one more time. "Yeah," he said quietly. "But can we come back tomorrow?" She kissed the top of his head, voice thick with emotion. "We can come back every single day if you want." They stood and walked home together, hand in hand, as the morning sun finally broke through the thick gray clouds for the first time in weeks. And somewhere, in a place Malik couldn't see but somehow felt deep in his bones, Elliot Grayson was smiling. Proud. At peace.